Hi, this is Lynn Everard with part two of our four-part series on balancing our energies. Today, I'd like to specifically talk to the ladies out there because today we're going to talk about the first 5 of 10 ways in which women abandon their own divine feminine. And this is a really important topic because if you've ever felt yourself in a place where you knew you were here to do something special in the world, but you just felt so disconnected from it and so disconnected from yourself. And maybe you're a little older as a woman and you've been tossed around by life and you have found some things to be very difficult. You know you're here for a purpose, but all the things that have happened to you have tended to hold you back. And these are really examples of ways in which women tend to abandon their own divine feminine. Now, the divine feminine is really powerful. It's actually the most powerful aspect for a woman. Now, I want to be clear that as men and women, we all have feminine and masculine aspects to us. And being in balance, being in harmony with those aspects within ourselves is actually what creates flow and gentleness and smoothness in our lives. It's when we are out of harmony with those aspects that we truly are, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, that we begin to suffer because we tend to try to be something that we're not so we can fit in, or so that we can, in essence, pretend that we don't know what we know. And oftentimes it's a matter of balancing those energies within ourselves. Um, Now, ladies, if you're someone who's getting older, and I'm going to let you define that by an age number, I'm not going to do that for you. But as you feel yourself getting a little older, you may not have the confidence in yourself physically that you once had. Maybe you feel like your beauty is somehow fading away. But I want to share something really important with you. And that is that when you allow the divine feminine within you to shine through you from the inside out, that creates a radiance that draws people to you. It is a part of your power, a part of your authentic power that you may have forgotten about. And in our work, in my work, what I want to do in support of women is to help you remove the blocks that have shown up in your life that have cut you off from the divine feminine that you truly are. Before I do that, I want to go through really quickly kind of 6 aspects of who we are as people at any given moment, seen through the eyes of the masculine and the feminine. And so on the feminine side, we have what's called the divine feminine, which is the highest essence of our divinity shining through our feminine aspect, the divine feminine. The next level of that, if you will, is the 3D feminine, or just the basic feminine. And then there's also the wounded feminine. Now, if we take that over to the masculine side, we get the same thing. We get the divine masculine, which is the highest aspect of masculinity that shines through, that shows through for men. But we also have the masculine, what we might call 3D masculine. And then we also have the wounded masculine. Now, every person can have a combination of all 6 of those. So you can see where it can get really confusing. And most of this ends up being in our subconscious minds. And that makes it really even more difficult for us to deal with. But stay with me, because we're going to talk about the first 5 ways. And there are probably more than 10, but I'm only going to do 10 here total in this series. So the first of those ways in which a woman abandons her divine feminine is that she's trying to prove that she can compete with men. Now, the masculine is all about doing. It's all about accomplishing. It's all about checking things off a checklist and just getting it all done. And it's a lot of work involved, and there may be very little inspiration, but a whole lot of perspiration, right? And so it's just hard to really be in that space of just having to be doing all the time. And yet flow, which is where we can live life with ease, it doesn't mean we don't do things, but we do them from an inspired place. We take inspired action, not just adding more busyness into our day. And so that's one of the ways that we know. So if a woman is so focused on her masculine energy of doing, and not allowing the flow, not allowing for allowing and receiving to be present in her life, then she's working just as hard at the doing, and she's completely missing out on her own gifts as the feminine, especially as a divine feminine. The second way that women tend to abandon their divine feminine is that they end up trying to prove something to someone. Now, you may have heard that the real truth doesn't need proving. Well, the real truth of you is your divine feminine. You have nothing to prove. You're already where you need to be. But if you're out trying to prove something, that's more of a pursuit of your ego. That's more of a pursuit of your 3D feminine. And it can also be a pursuit of your 3D masculine coming into play. But there's nothing to prove. The beauty, one of the aspects of beauty of the divine feminine is that you have nothing to prove, and that everything can flow through you. It's that radiance coming back into play again. And if you've lost that feeling of radiance, if you've lost the feel of it coming through you, of the divine coming through you, then it's time to go back there. The third one is where we use external power. If you know me, you know that I'm a big fan of the work of Gary Zukav. And Gary talks about two aspects. He talks about authentic power, which is power within us, and that is all we really need. But there's also external power, and external power is where we're trying to take control of situations that are outside of us, that are outside of who we are. And so the feminine may do this by trying to control and manipulate to get what she needs. This is often going to come from either a wounded feminine or a 3D feminine. But the divine feminine doesn't need to operate that way, because she's not going out and grabbing things and trying to pull them to her. She's allowing the magnetism of her radiance to simply draw them to her. It's not work. She doesn't have to chase it. She doesn't have to pursue it. It simply is when she's in that space. The fourth one I'd like to share with you is in needing to be busy all the time. How many of you spend much of your time feeling completely busy, overwhelmed, and exhausted? Okay, it's that state of doing. And sometimes we get so caught up in the doing that we don't even feel a purpose for what we're doing. And in all that doing, we are sometimes completely disallowing the possibility that our doing is actually going to bring us anything, or bring us anything that we actually desire. We're just out there doing. We're just out there busy. And, you know, my value to the world is how busy my schedule is. And the more I have filled in and the more overwhelmed I am, wow, I must be living the life. No, you're not living the life. You are avoiding the life that you actually came here to live. And so the last one we're going to go over today is not being the context for what you say you want in life. And this often shows up as this need to get something from outside of yourself and waiting for someone to show up. I've talked to so many women who, when you ask them what they really desire, and they want to be seen, and they want to be heard, and they want to be accepted and acknowledged and valued and appreciated. But then when you ask them, are you the context for that? Are you valuing yourself? Do you see yourself? Do you hear yourself? Do you acknowledge yourself? When something wonderful happens in your life, do you take time to acknowledge it, to acknowledge your role that you played in it? Or are you just off to the next thing? Because somewhere along the way, you were taught, or you taught yourself that, oh no, I can't, I'll get a big head if I focus on this too much. No, you won't. This is what you actually want. But if you don't allow it in yourself, it's not coming from the outside, because the only things that come from the outside, if we're dealing with healthy people, emotionally healthy people, what's coming from the outside is their mirroring of you, their reflection of who you are. So if you're seeking someone who will see you and hear you and know you, you get to be the context for it. You get to be the person that says, I'm giving that to myself. And the beautiful thing is, if you give it to yourself, you don't need it from the outside, but then it shows up. Have you ever noticed in life how things show up when you don't need them anymore? It's amazing how it all works. So the last thing I want to leave you with, in the next video, we'll do the last 5 of these, and maybe I'll throw an extra one in, who knows. But here's what I want to leave you with. I have a desire to help women, to support women in coming back into the divine feminine. And I'm going to share more about that with you. For example, what I want you to know is that I'm a product of incest, and I spent much of my life, unknowingly living with my father's guilt and my mother's shame. And for me to heal, and this journey, this healing journey that I've been on for the last 8 years or so now, for me to heal, I needed to heal both the wounded feminine in myself and the wounded masculine in myself. But what that did is it gave me the ability to have balance in my own energies, which also gives me the ability to be able to see into others, and especially just to, in this work, to see into women, to see where you may be out of balance, and to see where you have abandoned your divine feminine. And so I'm going to be offering a one-on-one coaching package. It's a 90-day program. I'm going to be offering it to no more than 6 people, 6 women, at a special price. I may decide to close it before I even get to 6. I don't know. But once it's gone, and I don't know if I will ever bring it back. So if this sounds like you, if this sounds like you would like to feel that radiance come back in you, if you'd like to work with someone who will see you and will help you see where you have abandoned, where you specifically have abandoned your divine feminine, so that you can open up and become everything you were meant to be, everything you came here to be, and not be in this place of having doubt and confusion and chaos in your life because you just don't know what's what. If that sounds like you, I encourage you to reach out to me. My contact information, you can go to my website, and you can send me a message. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. But if this sounds like you, and if you would like to have a free strategy phone session with me, we'll talk and we'll figure out if we would be a good fit to work together. But whether that happens or not, I wish each of you a beautiful journey in your life and a reunification with your divine feminine if you feel like you've walked out on that part of yourself. It's never too late to welcome the real you back home. So thank you for watching, In part 3, which will be coming up soon, we will go over the last 5 of the ways in which women abandon their divine feminine. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and thank you so much. Please feel free to share this video. Please feel to reach out to me in person. And like I said, when the spots are gone, they're gone. I'm going to be creating a brand new program over the next several months that'll be different than this. And I don't know if I'm going to offer this again. So if this feels like you, don't wait. Reach out to me now. Yes, I'll do something more formal in time, but I've got everything you need to know right now. And if you'd like to reach out to me, please do that. Thank you and have a wonderful day.